They've almost finished loading our cargo. We should be ready to depart right on schedule, or so I'm told.
Excellent. 'Tis nice to have a smooth beginning to one's journey, at the very least.
It's funny. Master Louis Soir came here on a ship very much like this one. And now, years later, the street urchin he befriended that day is bound for his mentor's homeland. With his mentor's grandchildren, no less.
Aye. 'Tis upon reflection that every twist of time's river and fate's whims are brought into sharp relief. Thou hast matured much in the intervening years. Wert thou not caught attempting to relieve Master Louis Soir of his purse scant moments after he made landfall upon this dock?
Oh, really? Now that's a tale I'd like to hear.
Will this be your first visit to Charlian, Sir Estinian? Sir Estinian?
Are we strangers newly met? Why this stiff formality?
I, merely meant it as a professional courtesy, since we are now colleagues in an official sense.
I'd rather you dispense with the sirs, especially in private company. Or I'll be forced to respond in kind, little Lord Alphino.
You've made your point, Estinian. Painfully well.
better.
Are you all right, Tataru? You seem positively distraught.
Distraught? Me? Don't be silly. I think it's lovely that they get to see their homeland. It's just, we're trying to thwart the schemes of an army hellbent on destroying the world. And, once again, I have to stay behind and worry that this is the last time I'll get to see my friends. I'll hold you to that.
Ah, good. You're still here.
Hori! Coulternay! What brings you all this way?
We're to assist the Maelstrom and the Kobolds with a lunar primal operation, so we thought we'd see you off before heading to the tower. Flamine and the others wish you all a safe journey, and promise that they'll look after things here until you return. We will too, of course. Aye. We, your fellow Scions of the Seventh Dawn, will do our part to ensure the end of the world won't happen on our watch.
We're set to sail! All aboard for Charlian!
It's time.
Then we must delay no longer. We will contact you the moment we learn aught of value. Wish us luck.
Have a safe journey, and please, please, be careful.
And so you venture forth unto the unknown. A fate beyond the horizon that cannot be divined. A future undefined and in flux. In uncertain times, naught but the simplest words of wisdom will suffice. That which lives is destined to die. Love leads to loss. Every beginning has an end. Treasure every moment, every step of your descent. And there, in the depths where souls and stars rest, find your truth.
Feel. Think.
The day has barely dawned, my fellow earlier riser. Though we're hardly alone in that. Envious of those still sleeping soundly, no doubt. Called out to you, you say? I've heard nothing myself. In any case, I dare say the sea air will do you good. Why not join the others on deck? Charlian should be coming into view at any moment.
My voice yet reaches you. I am glad. Hear, feel, think. And thus do we meet face to face at last. My warrior of light, guided by the crystal. After your sojourn in the First, I believe you have your answer. You have gained an understanding of what I truly am, what Eidolon has always been, a primal. Zodiac was created to forestall the apocalypse which threatened the ancient world. And I was brought forth to bind him. Yet 7 times now, those who would orchestrate a return to that bygone era have rejoined a shard to the god I had sundered. The greater his strength grows, the swifter does mine own diminish. The power to draw your mind into the rift betwixt is no longer mine to wield. Yet though it taxes me sorely, I dare not leave these words unsaid. Even bereft of my guidance, you and your companions have accepted the burden of this star's troubled past. A conjunction has begun to form, an intertwining of your time and mine. Wheels shudder and turn. Conflict looms. Monumental. Which will decide the fate of this world and all life upon it. When you truly understand what is at stake, and your journey has prepared you to surmount the insurmountable, then shall I honor the promise made in another time, another age.
Cast your peepers to the fore, folks. Sharlayan's just over yonder.
I will not keep you further. Your traveler's heart must yearn to behold this unfamiliar land. We shall meet again, and soon.
Oh, what a fine morning. Oh, still a bit stiff, though.
And a good morning to you too. Taking a look at the island already?
Then let's go. Let's go! Might still be room in the prow if we're lucky.
Ah, the sleepers have arisen. There she is. Good old Sharlayan.
Oh, I see it.
Home. Home at last. Well, maybe not in Father's eyes, but we'll manage on our own, if we must.
You do know you're not alone in this, don't you?
Indeed. 'Tis as Sir Estinian saith. Forget not the comrades who boarded this ship at your side, I prithee.
Thank you, my friends. We are ever grateful for your steadfast support.
Upon arrival, we will be disembarking into the heart of Sharlayan proper. There is no greater concentration of wisdom in all the world. I am confident that somewhere within that center of knowledge and learning, we will find the answers we seek.
Sharlian, the solitary island nation of the northern seas. Where under the watchful gaze of Thaliak, patron deity of scholars, academics hoard all manner of knowledge and secrets. Once, they deigned to accept foreign students into a distant colony maintained in the Dravanian hinterlands. How swiftly they abandoned it once the first Garlean boot set hostile foot on Alamegan soil. So averse to the prosecution of war, these men of wisdom, your would-be allies.
I thought they'd never let us off the ship. What's next, then? Entry applications?
Hopefully they find no cause to deny us.
Hasn't Sharlian all but severed relations with foreign powers? Those of us without direct ties, myself included, may be refused outright.
'Tis true that, as a nation, Sharlian only forms trade agreements with a select few neutral countries. But from a practical standpoint, an island cannot afford to be overly strict with its borders, especially not if that island's people are wholly devoted to the accumulation of knowledge. If one submits the proper paperwork, with satisfactory evidence of identity and intent, then foreigners may be granted entry.
May.
Quite. So let us be absolutely clear on these points before we proceed. The immigration officer will ask for your affiliation and your purpose of visit. Considering Sharlian's views on intervention, I strongly suggest we avoid any mention of the Scions. Kral has laid the groundwork for us to act as associates of the students of Baldessian, and our ostensible reason for being here is to aid in their order's restoration. Grahatir, it might expedite our progress should an actual student be seen at the head of our little group. Would you mind leading the way?
Of course. The immigration officers were this way, as I recall. Shall we? Greetings. We've just arrived and are eager to make our way into the city. Would you be so kind as to process our entry applications?
Certainly. I see by your mark you are an Archon.
I am. Grahat here of the Students of Baldessian at your service. I was assigned to an Eorzean survey team, but have returned to assist with the reformation of my order. My associates here will provide additional support.
Very good. I have paperwork detailing your group and its scheduled arrival for today. And it seems some few of your companions are also Archons. If you'll step forward, we can process those applications first.
Ishtola rule.
See how it glows? That list is etherically linked with the citizen registry kept in the main repository.
I've confirmed your status as Archons and amended your travel records accordingly. Welcome home. Now, who do we have here?
Alphino Leveilleur.
And Alizé Leveilleur.
Your applications have also been approved. Having said that, the streets are abuzz with talk of how House Leveilleur's lord disowned his young progeny. And while such personal circumstances constitute no reason to deny you entry, I urge you to avoid exacerbating your present situation. Times are quite troubled enough already.
We shall keep that in mind.
These last two are not Sharlayan natives, but you will find their credentials are in order. An application was made in advance.
Name and occupation? Indeed. Your profile describes you as an adventurer, but one also trained in the rather more constructive pursuits of procurement and production. You may enter. And you, sir?
Estinian Valino, formerly of the Order of the Knights Dragoon in Ishgard.
Formally, at least. And what, pray tell, is your profession now?
If you'll allow me... My associate is a mercenary, hired for his strength at arms. Surely you are aware of the dangers we often face on our forays into the wilderness.
Mistress Baldessian, if you insist on sponsoring his entry, then so be it. But while I appreciate that desperate times call for desperate measures, I find your choice of company concerning. Be advised that even a single misstep may have severe repercussions for your organization.
I have every confidence in my chosen company, dear and trusted comrades that they are. But I thank you for your concern.
Croyle! It is good to see you.
Likewise. Long voyage notwithstanding, you will seem none the worse for wear. There is much to discuss, but this is hardly the place. Let's be on our way, shall we? Oh! Welcome, friends, to Sharlayan.
As your mercenary, I should hope my welcome includes a generous salary.
Well, I had to say something, Sir Taciturn.
Pray forgive me. I was delayed.
It's fine, Urianger. We're all here now.
Let's get down to business then, shall we? Come what may, we must prevent the Telophoroi's plans from coming to fruition. At present, I see two paths for gathering the information which may aid us in achieving that goal. The first involves an investigation into the change which has come over Sharlayan, not to mention the recent inscrutable behavior of the Forum. As most of you know, the 99 members of the Forum are elected from the general populace. This alone guarantees a plethora of opinion with regards to foreign policy. The bibliotheques, for example, are a group of conservatives which would have Sharlayan focus on recording history, while remaining entirely uninvolved in the making of it. And at the other extreme, we have advocates for proactive diplomacy and direct intervention. My grandfather Galef was one such member, as was Archon Louisois. Yet despite our diverse factions and philosophies, the recent vote to deny Eorzea's request for assistance was unanimous. Even more concerning was the fact that many cited other, more pressing duties as justification for their recalcitrance.
Fortuno's refusal in Gridania had those same undertones. Having stared unblinking into the face of impending doom, he had simply turned away to pursue something more important. But what could that possibly be?
A mystery indeed, and one which I ask for your help to solve. Our future may depend on it. As for our second potential path, it concerns a request made directly to the students of Baldessian. Our organization was founded primarily to study strange and unexplained phenomena the world over. Mysterious relics and ruins, arcane disturbances, and so forth. Compared to our more isolationist Sharlayan colleagues, we have strong connections overseas, namely with scholars and academics who share our passion for the unknown. The request in question comes from one such acquaintance, Nidana, an alchemist residing in distant Thavnair. Her missive describes the sudden appearance of a tower, and the subsequent summoning of what I can only assume is a lunar primal. In response to this threat, the Satrap of Radzat-Han, the individual who governs the city-state, has instructed the alchemists to find a means to deal with the spire.
The artisans of that land are heirs to an ancient tradition, one rather unlike that of their Uldan counterparts. It is possible, nay, probable, that they have gleaned truths unattainable by Eorzea or her Far Eastern allies.
They do, in fact, appear to have a strategy in mind, though it will require further research. To that end, they have requested an introduction to a capable warrior shielded by the blessing of light.
Assuming we divide our forces to pursue both of Krar's lines of inquiry, then having you join the group heading to Thavnair would seem the obvious choice. But the investigation in Sharlayan is of vital importance as well. Equal, I think, to the Thavnarian one, given that the fate of the world may hinge on the results of both.
Yes, it is quite the quandary. Though it is a great imposition and an altogether too common one, our efforts would be more likely to succeed were you to lead the charge on both fronts. You are indeed our champion. As to which task to tackle first, we will defer to your decision. Let us next decide how everyone else might best be assigned. As for myself, I shall continue what I've begun in Sharlayan. I should also like to steal the services of an Archon or two.
And thereby gain access to a greater range of reading material. I will help with that.
Allow me to offer my assistance. I have some small amount of experience in the field of research.
Alize and I would also like to help, if you would have us.
Anything to understand even a fraction of what our father and the Forum might be thinking. Of course, the more the merrier.
Right. The rest of us will make the journey to Thavnair. Thoughts? Objections?
I passed through Thavnair on my way to infiltrate the Empire, and though I'm not qualified to give a guided tour, I did gain a sense of where things lie.
I'll be happy to have you along then. So for this group, it will be you, me, and Urianger.
Give me a moment afterwards, and I'll supply you with all the details of Nadana's request. Consider this hall our rendezvous point once our respective tasks are complete. May our investigations prove fruitful.
set. Just the 4 of you, was it?
3. I'm already attuned to the crystal in Thavnir.
You are? Oh. I would have preferred more test subjects. Oh, well, never mind. If our 3 travellers could line up here, please. Yes, right there is fine. Take a deep breath, and I'll soon have you soaring through the ether. Oh, and one last thing. You might experience a teensy-weensy touch of violent ethereal sickness. Good luck!
What?
Thavnir, home to city-state Rads at Han. Rising from the southeast waters of the Bounty, this Isle of Plenty served as the battleground for a conflict between 2 peoples. Their cultures bled into one another until a unique amalgamation was distilled from the chaos, in a process not unlike their precious alchemy. Once solidified as a single nation, an adamant stance of neutrality would hold invaders at bay. For a time. Now across this vibrant isle creeps a fog of malice. What choice do you have? What chance? Against such an insidious foe.
Seen fairer faces after a bout of bad shellfish. Let me bring you something to drink. That should help settle your bellies.
There was a note with Kryle's instructions. Don't let Estinian roam the markets alone. He's alarmingly bad with coin.
When our father disowned us, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It wasn't until much later that his words began to sink in, that I began to feel the weight of what it meant. Do you remember when the decision was made to come to Charlian? Grahas said that the Forum was determined to keep us in the dark, and that Father's venomous performance was part of that strategy, to keep us at arm's length. Perhaps it was. Father argued with Grandfather on many occasions, but never with such dismissive contempt. And when he demanded what justifies the sacrifices we make in war, I honestly didn't know what to say. Neither did Alpha know, I know, but never for one moment did I believe we had made the wrong choice. So all I could do was fume silently. It was only afterwards that I realized how childish I had been, how being stubborn and self-righteous must run in the family. If I could have just mustered a civil response, then things might have turned out differently. They must be ferrying goods to Labyrinthos. a vast complex beneath the island. Sharlayan is famous for archiving knowledge from around the world. Well, that knowledge is not preserved exclusively in dusty tomes and desiccated samples. Our living library, comprised of all manner of flora and fauna, is housed and studied within that underground facility. Still, that did seem to be an unusually large shipment. When I lived here, it was rare to even see such cargo transported by boat. Wait! Didn't you hear something in the last stand about the gleaners coming and going more than usual? Well, I think they're the ones we saw manning those boats. And gleaners answer to the Forum. If the appearance of the Telophoroi prompted this sudden burst of activity, then Labyrinthos may hold a clue as to what the Forum is planning.
Deep beneath the scholar's city shines a false sun within a fabricated sky. In any age exist those who consider the floor an extension of their bookshelves, and this vault's architects surely belonged to that special breed. If the stack grows too high, start a new one. If no room remains, then make more rooms. A simple solution at first, and then bit by bit, a profound transformation. Knowledge buried beneath knowledge, a growing, creeping labyrinth from which there is no escape.
Not what you expected. I must admit, the artifice is very convincing. But I assure you that we are beneath Sharlayan itself. The breeze you feel, the flowing waters you hear, all created by the hand of man.
The island is volcanic, you see, and once upon a time this great hollow must have been a reservoir for magma. It was discovered some 400 years ago, at which point it was repurposed as a storage facility for scrolls and samples and such. Renovations have continued, with nigh on no interruption to this day, with the lower levels still undergoing expansion.
Aren't those people gleaners?
Aye, judging by their dress. They are said to work alone as a rule, but 'twould seem that rule is being enthusiastically broken today. It may be as you suspected, that they are engaged in a task apart from the norm.
Let's spread out and get some answers then. Ugh. Did you call to me just now? No. How odd. I must be a bit dizzy from the descent. I'll be fine, I'm sure. Let's get to work, shall we?
Fair shot. Nicely done. Let me truss this one up, and I'll make my way over to you.
There you are. Any new revelations?
So you met with that gleaner again, this time to capture a hornbill. I understand catching and bringing in creatures from the outside, but what's the point of chasing after ones already here?
Oh, it's a simple thing, really. Occasionally, we remove specimens no longer needed for study, or those we've had difficulty raising. But we can't simply turn them loose. Safely returning such creatures to their native habitats is another facet of a gleaner's duties. But not in this case, I'm afraid. I've been asked to bring the bird below.
The restricted section in the lower levels of Labyrinthos. Open only to a select few researchers hand-picked by the Forum. The projects down there are the subject of rumor and hearsay. Forbidden magics. Advanced technologies that can never be allowed to fall into outside hands. Even Archons are not privy to the truth. Those who are, the researchers involved in this secretive work, are not permitted to walk freely in the city, and are instead required to live in isolated quarters.
What could a facility subject to such strict security protocols possibly need with a hornbill? An experiment?
Possibly. I wasn't afforded an explanation. But judging by the requisition list given to me and my colleagues, I doubt it's for any kind of advanced research. I'd be...
What? Why would you say that?
Much of the flora and fauna we were asked to procure could serve as reliable sources of sustenance. They're comparatively hardy species, too, able to endure harsh climates. And among them are specimens known to be effective in improving soil quality and purifying water.
When you put it that way, migration does sound like a reasonable assumption.
That's all it is, though. An assumption. Through our tasks, we gleaners glimpse only bits and pieces of the Forum's plans. Our prime concern is that our requisitions, be they living or otherwise, are properly preserved for the knowledge of future generations. Now, I really must be going. I regret that I cannot reward you as you deserve.
Perhaps you might reward us after a fashion, then. It is imperative that we reach the lower levels. And seeing as you are already set to descend with your assigned cargo, mayhap we could accompany you as your assistants.
I'm afraid that won't be possible. Once the animals have been prepared for transport, we send them down separately via the lift. I will, of course, follow after to make my report, but I can hardly pass you off as porters when there's nothing left to carry.
Indeed. Pray forget I said anything.
How do you feel about climbing? If you've strength and the courage to brave it, then there is another way down. This path leads to the 33rd facet. a mine shaft excavated during one of our expansions of Labyrinthos. While I cannot guarantee that the passage is safe to traverse, it should provide access to the medial circuit below.
I never even knew such a place existed. Thank you. This is the perfect solution.
You're quite welcome. But consider yourselves warned. If the going proves too treacherous, you'd do well to turn back. I bid you good day.
Well, turning back is hardly an option, not when we've come this far. Let's go and take a look at this mine shaft.
Hard to look away, isn't it? But they're more than pretty flowers. Heart blooms are attuned to ambient emotion. You don't seem convinced, but believe me, it's true. This ashen grey, for instance, it mirrors the anxiety and urgency of those working nearby as they rush to fulfill sudden orders. Intense feelings like those spur the petals to change colour. Bright glowing hues in the presence of joy, dark subdued shades for frustration or despair. Yet even with the collected wisdom of Charlian at our disposal, we've yet to identify the underlying principle of this empathic effect. And there are other mysteries besides. Although the flower is extraordinarily long-lived, its low reproductive rate has made it difficult to find younger populations growing in the wild. With too few sightings to map its distribution, and no closely related species to track, we've been unable to pinpoint its land of origin. To further complicate matters, every culture, even dimly aware of its existence, has given it a different name and mythos. Our attempts to study it via the historical record have been an exercise in frustration. As an avid botanist myself, I should one day like to unravel the Heartbloom's secrets. But I'm afraid other duties must take precedence. I will leave you to your thoughts.
Have you learned aught of interest? A flower that reacts to one's feelings? Strange. I must say, I have never heard of such a thing.
This is all very fascinating. But as it stands, we fail to gain any significant insight into the Forum's undertaking.
Indeed. While there is certainly enough activity to support Erenville's supposition that a priority has been placed on improving food production, unfortunately for our investigation, these workers were never informed as to how their duties serve the master plan.
If only we could interrogate the Forum members directly. Isn't that the entrance to the Archaean? Look, there. I think that's Erenville.
A little difficult to tell from here, but I think you're right. He did say he was coming down to make his report.
Erenville receives his orders from the Forum. Would it not follow, then, that the superior to whom he reports is a Forum member, or at least a close associate?
You mean to eavesdrop on their conversation? What of the risks?
Ours alone to bear. We won't interfere with Erenville's work, nor will he be implicated as an accomplice. If you're not comfortable taking part, I can do this alone.
Nay. I said myself that I wished to know Father's intentions. And no answers will be forthcoming should we simply ask nicely.
We can apologize later, should it come to it. Right now, we need every crumb of information we can get our hands on. Consequences be damned.
It might be best if you came along as well. In fact, we should all... Cryer?
Oh, yes. That certainly sounds like a plan.
I'm glad you agree.
Quickly! Erenville is on the move. We need to get closer before we lose him.
I can almost reach you.
I trust you will find your compensation to be more than satisfactory. We wish to make clear that we are pleased with the efficiency and thoroughness of your work. So much so that we have come bearing new tasks in need of your competent hand.
Another lengthy list. If I may speak frankly, the Gleaners have been pushed to the point of collapse by your unending demands. We are not familiars to be exploited. We are Sharlayan scholars, and we deserve an explanation for this unseemly treatment. What warrants such urgency?
In an age long past, Sharlayan was charged with a momentous duty. And now that word of the final days hangs heavy in the air, the time has come for us to fulfill that charge. I can say no more, but I promise you this. All will be revealed in due course. And when it has, you will understand that your toil was in service to the greatest good.
Then I will do your bidding. For now. But unless you wish the Gleaners to rise up in protest, I advise you to offer tangible improvements for our working conditions. Your promised revelation does nothing to address present circumstances.
A fair point. Your concerns will be conveyed to the Forum.
I hope that was informative. You may consider my debt to you repaid in full. While I do have my reservations about the Forum, I want to believe that they have our best interests at heart. Which is why I'm reassured that you're busy sniffing out the truth of things. We can ill afford to place all our eggs in one basket, this master plan of theirs, without first understanding the risks involved.
Wait! How did you know it was us?
If you mean to impersonate a toad, try studying the real thing. And don't try to fool an expert.
For you. The spell will keep it from wilting. She said you would need it for the journey ahead. Will you speak with her now? I cannot hope to match Minfilia's clarity, of course, but...
Thank you. Do not worry. She has lent me her body for only a moment. Just as I could not save the first from the flood of light, it has become arduous for me to interact with the physical world without assistance. Though I might converse with you for a time, the incorporeal form I assumed on the ship would be incapable of casting even the simplest enchantment. It is in the depths of the ethereal sea, the place to which all life returns, where my influence is greatest. After Minfilia's sacrifice on the first, it was to the sea, here in the source, where I ferried her soul. I wished that gentle spirit to find rest in the world she loved so well. Her, and another who may yet have a part to play, though that will depend on you. Take the flower, walk free, for you are free to go where you wish, to believe what you will. That bloom will be your guide. test and proof of your conviction. In darkness, seek joy. Surrender not to sadness, and see beyond despair. Walk free, and bear the light for others to follow. Together, raise it aloft and let it shine, till the end, blinding and radiant.
That was all too brief. Already she seems so far away. My apologies if I startled you. Ever since we began our descent into Labyrinthos, I had sensed another's will, straining to reach out. Even with my particular talents, though, I was unable to make a connection at first, so weak and tenuous it was. Once I took hold of that wispy thread, imagine my surprise to discover it was Heidelin herself. Needless to say, it seemed wise to learn what we could before letting go. Her answers were more cryptic than I would have liked, but at least she left us with a guide of sorts, that unusual flower. Yes, we are definitely making progress. You can't be serious! We've done nothing wrong! Master Fortuno? What business has the Forum with us?
Obstruction and suppression, apparently.
Mistress Baldessian, our records show you facilitated the Scions' entrance into Sharlayan by claiming them as assistants for your organization. We are aware of your investigations. After alerting the major institutions to the presence of potential troublemakers, we received word from an Archean custodian. A group operating under the auspices of the students, skulking about Labyrinthos and engaging in clandestine behavior.
Clandestine? We may not have entered Sharlayan as Scions, but we did naught to conceal our identities. Our only purpose in this city is to seek the truth. I can think of no reason why our actions should warrant the Forum's intervention.
'Tis not our way to discourage the pursuit of knowledge, but the timing of such pursuits must be considered, not to mention their potential impact. With the world in chaos, we, the true caretakers of wisdom, have committed ourselves to an undertaking that demands the utmost discretion. And we will not risk its success by turning a blind eye to disruptive foreign elements in our midst.
What, then, is to be our fate? Will you put us on a ship back to Eorzea?
The Forum will convene to examine your case. The results of said inquiry will determine your future in this city. As for your absent companion, he has already been detained.
Graha! But why? Is reading a crime now, too?
Reading is encouraged, celebrated even. Not, however, of the volumes shelved in the restricted section of the library.
Refusing to comply will only make matters worse. Let us instead treat this as an opportunity to open a dialogue with the Forum.
Silence is often one's best defense. I would advise against prolonging the proceedings with frivolous discourse. But enough. This is not the place for debate. The rostra await.
Forgive me. I was careless.